All right, welcome back, everybody. Very quick video today. This is just going to be an opinion piece video, so not very exciting. If you, yeah, I try and make videos that have got some kind of worthy content, and I don't really have anything today. But it's been a while since I've done a video, and the reason I'm making this video is I've had a few people recently just ask me this question, that Eddie, are you going to upgrade to the XH2, XH2S, XT5 and all that kind of stuff? So I thought I would just address that quickly rather than type again and again the same thing. Look, I've been really happy this year to see what Fuji have been pushing out. I mean, amidst, a pandemic and chip shortages and all those sorts of things, I'm, kind of blown away by how much Fuji have pushed out. I think last time they released the XH1, they kind of cannibalized it a little bit with the XT sales. I don't know if this is going to be a bit of an issue for them again with the XT5 being on the back so quickly after the XH series. But it's interesting. I like the direction they're going as a company. I have no problems with the PASM or this analog style that they're giving with the XT. All that kind of stuff is cool. I feel like they're really appealing to a broad range of user base, a diverse user base, which I think is really fantastic. What I find really interesting though is none of them really tick all of my boxes, and the improvements that they're making are not really in ways that I care about or want, and I'll explain. So I think I'm recording right now on the XT4, and I think they really knocked it out of the park with this one for this camera. I think it's going to go down in history as being a really iconic camera from Fujifilm. Now, the XH2S has that stack sensor, and it's more powerful and video centric, and I can understand a lot of people really appreciating what that is giving. But at the same time, Fuji still has some kind of niggles with their video stuff, such as the aperture stepping problem that they still haven't resolved. So why go to all this length to really try and get good at video if you haven't really sorted out bread and butter basics? I think anybody who really understands video is going to know that this is not going to really satisfy their video needs. So it's a bit of a weird one. However, I'm kind of interested in the kind of stack sensor and how that all, and the processing power and how that will all work for the stills photography side of things. I feel as though the new algorithm for autofocus and all those sorts of things that they've been working on is probably going to be the camera that you want to pick if you want a little bit more confidence with autofocus sticking. I've already seen, for example, some videos, some YouTubers talk about the XH2 and being a little bit kind of not feeling as though it's still doing some peculiar behavior, finding faces where there aren't any faces, things like that. So this kind of like, to upgrade from the XT4 and spend all this money to get something where the autofocus is better but still not great, you're not still completely trusting in its ability, for me is not enough for me to really kind of separate coin for. So the other thing about the XH2S is I'm going to give a shout out to a couple of YouTubers that I think have been really authentic. The first one is Jared, and I'll link you his channel below, but he's the one that's talked about the XH2. He's had it for a little while and just felt as though that autofocus was still being a bit weird. You can go and watch his video, and don't hate on me because I don't have the camera, hate on him. The other guy is I Am Tongue, and I'll give you his channel as well. But he picked up on the fact that, for example, the clarity setting in the Fujifilm camera for film sims is something that's always kind of like needs a little bit of processing time after you take that shot. It is quite a powerful way it renders the image and does quite a lot, whether, depending if you have the setting minus or plus. But for all this advancement in processing power, it's still no better. You're still waiting a second or two before you can take another shot if you choose to use this clarity feature. So I'm just like, what's that all about? You can boost it in so many ways, but you just can't even speed this up. It's the same. And then talking of things that are the same, the XT5 EVF is the same as the XT4. So, yes, I'm getting a boost in megapixels and the autofocus is going to be better than the XT4, but I'm getting the same EVF and the autofocus probably still isn't perfect or great. And then it doesn't have the articulating screen. Now, I know that people don't want the articulating screen. It's cool, but I kind of need it for what I do with some of my videography work, I quite like the articulating screen. So it just basically, the XT5 I just can't use at all because it just doesn't have the screen I need. If I replace my XT4 with an XT5, the other camera I've got is the XT32, and that doesn't have any kind of that's another tilt screen. So I'm stuck again with this idea of not being able to see what I'm doing. So it's interesting. The XH2 cameras obviously have the articulating screen, and that's what I should be going for. But what I kind of really want is a stacked 40 megapixel sensor. I know that's ridiculous, it's asking a lot, but what they've done with their compartmentalizing of the two cameras is still not brilliant, because even video-centric people still kind of want the 8K from the XH2 aspect. It's just weird. It's just like, I don't know, maybe I used to shoot, well, I still do shoot with Pentax, and right here I've got this huge beast, which is the 645D medium format CCD sensor, absolutely gorgeous. And then I've got, for full frame, I have the Pentax K1, and I still really absolutely love these cameras to death. And I mean, I'm not scripting this, obviously, as you can tell, but I get my OVF satisfaction through these cameras. When it comes to work, I use Fujifilm for a lot of client work, and I never complain about the EVF, and it doesn't seem to really impact me or get in the way. But when I go and do some casual stuff, maybe nature or landscape, I actually start finding the EVF stuff a bit annoying, and it is actually really quite nice to have the OVF for those kind of periods of time. And so I'm left with this kind of feeling of like these, some of these new flagship like the XH2, it's still very, very expensive. But if I was to go for that and get slightly better autofocus, I'm still not left with better image quality. It's still 26 megapixel like the XT4. The better image resolution is in the XH2, but then I'm not sure I'm really going to get significantly better autofocus to really warrant that upgrade. So really for me, I'm feeling like, do they just rush these? I'm just not used to these kind of frequent camera releases, like yearly or every other year. These Pentax cameras, that 645D's from 2010, and it's still absolutely incredible image quality for 2010. It really is. Take my word for it. And the K1 is full frame, came out in 2016, and it is, again, either of these two cameras I would choose any day of the week for image quality above Fujifilm. Sorry, that's just how it is. It's the file. It's physics. These sensor sizes and files. Pentax doesn't get enough respect in that regard. They absolutely do wonderful files to work with in post-processing, and the image quality is absolutely astounding. And they do really good glass. So back to Fujifilm, I'm kind of feeling as though the camera I want, they haven't made yet, and maybe they'll make next year. Maybe it's XH3, where they can just not compartmentalize that brand, that flagship, but just have one camera that can actually do everything. And I also think that this is the first time Fuji have went out with a stacked sensor, so there's maybe some niggles there that they've got to work out. They've maybe not got things working quite as well as they'd like. Even just things like, though, like there's no new film sim for any of these ones. I think Nostalgic Neg is but that's kind of been around on the GFX a little while now, and it's not that great. But there's no new kind of film sim settings. They haven't added like a vignette or something that you could apply, or the grain hasn't been improved. There's just stuff that actually matters to me that they haven't actually really done any beefing up. So that kind of straight out camera issue for some of the things that I'm having on the XT4, it's just absolutely no different on the XH2 or S or XH2 or XT5. So for me, like, it's just I'm not even taxing half of the features I'm using on the XT4. I don't use pre-shot. Half the time I'm not even using UHS2 cards to their maximum potential. So they're kind of overkilling it in some respects. But I always find like the devil's in the details. It's like more than just saying that autofocus is better. You just see a lot of YouTube reviewers just like, looking at somebody and if the autofocus stick, but those aren't real life applications. I shoot weddings. I want to know when a bride's coming down the aisle, if that face detection is sticking on her, or is it just deciding to randomly start going to somebody else in the audience. I mean, face select is a bit of a joke with Fujifilm for that. Yes, you've got a little joystick that you can push about to somebody else's face, but as soon as you land on the face you want, it just decides to jump somewhere else. It's really infuriatingly annoying. So these things matter more to me, like how well the implementation of Fujifilm. And talking of which, they've replaced, you know, the little lever to on the front of the cameras from, you know, manual, continuous and single with a button, which I think is a good idea. But they've made it so that you press the button on the XH2, XH2S, and then have to do an additional thing to toggle to the you know, the mode that you want. Why doesn't it just toggle through as you press? You know, there's a lot of little things that are good design but bad implementation. Maybe these things will be addressed in the firmware update. I hope Fujifilm are listening, because I know that a lot of people have complained about such things. And I think somebody else talked about the ISO, not being able to bind ISO to a certain command dial. Things like that, just silly things that really can actually thwart the whole kind of user experience. So really, no, I'm not going to be upgrading anytime soon. I think the XT4 is absolutely, you know, it does everything I need to do right now. I'm not going to trade in and lose about $1,000 in that trade to go up to something else that still has some iggles and problems and really is not really giving me better image quality. Talking about image quality as well, not so convinced 40 megapixel was the right way for Fuji to go. I do love the pixel shift mode, but I think pixel shift on 26 megapixels would have been fantastic as well. I don't know if they really needed the 40 megapixels, but coming from somebody who does shoot medium format, full frame, and going to Fuji, the big Achilles heel for me with Fuji and APS-C in general, this is not just Fuji's fault, it's ISO, it's noise. It's when you do event work, you start to really notice that your image quality is getting degraded significantly if you're going above 1600 ISO. I try and keep a limit on it. I pretty much don't use zooms for a lot of my event work because it's low light. I'm on primes, and the faster the primes the better. Even f2 primes are pushing it really at times. So you have to be really good with Fuji to get good results. You feel like you're on the top of your game because you're constantly looking at your exposure parameters as you're going through the day shooting, making sure you're not throwing shutter speeds away at the expense of bringing noise in. You're constantly going, look, this person's talking right now, they're not very animated, maybe I can get away with 1/120th of a second. And now you're like, okay, now they're moving a little bit more, they're talking and a bit more animated, I need to go up to 1/320th of a second. You kind of continually have to behave like that with Fujifilm, because it's not like 1600 ISO on full frame or medium format. It is quite nasty at times, and only at times. I know that I'm going to get the pitchforks. People are going to go, oh, look at this shot I did with Fuji, 6400, 1280. I've done it too. I've done some really nice high ISO shots with Fuji as well. I'm just saying standard physics and just how it works. You know, ISO looks very different under different circumstances and lighting. You know, it is the Achilles heel of all APS-C cameras, is noise. So if I don't know where Fujifilm can go to improve that, maybe they need lower megapixels, not higher, and something like, look at how good this ISO is at 1600 now. That would actually be very appealing to me. So there, yeah, look, getting on a bit, 12 minutes or so. I'm probably rambling. I think I've said everything I've really wanted to say. I like where Fujifilm are going. It's not necessarily all negatives. I feel as though if my XT4 was to die, I could, yes, buy an XH2, XH2S and be happier and have something, you know, that to replace the XT4 that wouldn't make me start thinking about using another brand. But at the same time, I'm not feeling as though I'm quite getting what I particularly would like from Fujifilm, but I realized in life what I want I never get. I'm a weirdo, so the things I like nobody else seems to care about, or the things I want. But it's not all bad. They've done a really good. They've done really well this year, and congratulations to them. And I hope that they're actually, you know, making profits from all these research development and camera bodies that they're releasing. I hope they're getting the sales. I'm just gonna watch for a little while and see what happens, wait for things to come down in price even further. Maybe I will upgrade maybe in 12 months or so, but I'm not feeling like I must go out. I think it's great for people that are on things like XT2s, you know, then this, you know, these cameras that have come out this year, they're definitely going to be a significant upgrade. And talking of which, I briefly, just before I go, I use these Pentax, and it's got the OVF, and it is wonderful to use that, as I said before, in you know, a casual kind of non-work kind of specific environment. I sometimes wonder if the camera that I really want is actually an X Pro series camera with a hybrid OVF. Maybe I can start ditching some of these Pentax cameras and just fully sink my teeth into something like the X Pro 4 or the X Pro 5 and get that experience where when it's work time, I can get the EVF going and get all the assistant tools that I need to get the job done. But when it's me time and I've got the opportunity to take things slow and enjoy it more, I've got that OVF experience. And I think Fuji are onto something here with the X Pro series in that respect. That's actually the camera that I think I'm most looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with the X Pro 4. I mean, I probably already know it's going to either have a stacked sensor 26 or a single 40 megapixel camera, but let's see what else it's doing. I think that's the interesting camera for me. I think that's I'll be interested to see where they're going with that kind of technology. I wish more camera brands would maybe embrace this hybrid OVF, EVF, Pentax system technology. But anyway, I'll leave it there for now. And any questions, ask me in the comments below. And yeah, let me know what you think. If I'm crazy, or you agree with me, or you think I'm nuts and that these cameras are all fantastic and I'm just an idiot. Till next time, bye bye.